John Adams. John Adams was born into a prominent family in Massachusetts in 1735. John was a very smart and determined young boy. He graduated from Harvard University and went on to study law. In 1764, John married Abigail Smith. Abigail quickly became his best friend and best political advisor. The Revolutionary War began brewing the following year, and Adams quickly emerged as a strong leader of the Patriots. He did not think Great Britain was caring well for the colonists. Shortly after the Stamp Act was passed, Adams wrote an essay arguing that the act went against the basics of the colonists' rights. He became a well-respected man and was looked up to by many others in the colonies. As passionate as Adams was about the Patriot cause, he was equally as passionate about protecting justice for all people. 5 American civilians were killed in a tragic event in 1770 known as the Boston Massacre. Adams agreed to defend the British soldiers who were responsible for the deaths because he was so passionate about protecting justice in the colonies. He believed that they deserved a right to a fair trial. The case was heard in the Queen Street Courthouse on November 27, 1770. This was 8 months after the incident had occurred, but many Americans were still extremely upset. British Captain Preston and his soldiers did have one thing going for them. They were represented by an American lawyer. Adams argued that the British only fired their weapons out of self-defense. After much debate, the British soldiers were found not guilty. The court ruled that they had not planned to kill the civilians. 2 of the soldiers were found guilty of shooting the colonists out of self-defense, but they avoided the death penalty by being branded or burned on their thumbs. Adams was elected to the Massachusetts Assembly later the same year. He also represented his colony as the First Continental Congress in 1774. Adams was very active member in both committees. It was he who proposed for George Washington to be appointed the commander-in-chief of the Army. Congress asked Adams to help draft or write the Declaration of Independence as the Revolutionary War came to an end in 1776. Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, Robert Livingston, Roger Sherman, and Adams wrote the famous document. The Declaration was approved on July 4th, 1776. Adams' passion for his country did not decrease after the American government was established. He served almost 100 committees during his lifetime. Some of his greatest accomplishments included overseeing the Continental Army, serving as an American diplomat, and serving as the U.S. Minister to England. Adams spent 10 years in Europe before returning home to run for president. He was defeated in the first 2 elections by George Washington, but because he was the runner-up, Adams was elected vice president. He was extremely frustrated in this position. He quickly learned that his position did not hold much power. President Washington did not take action on many of Adams' ideas. Finally, in 1796, Adams was elected President of the United States. Adams' time as president was far from easy. The French and the British were in the midst of a war for the majority of his presidency. Adams sent an American delegate to France in hopes of working out a treaty. The French refused to meet unless the United States paid them a bribe. Adams refused. Adams' actions during this time made him very popular in America. However, the public changed their mind when Adams signed the Alien and Sedition Acts in 1798. This law allowed the government to send enemy aliens and people who disagreed with the government out of the country. Adams was only trying to protect Americans by passing this law, but the acts angered most Americans. They believed the law was unconstitutional. Despite the fact that Adams never took advantage of the laws, the public did not want to re-elect Adams after the acts were passed. Adams lost the next presidential election to Thomas Jefferson. He only served 1 term as president. After his political career ended, Adams focused on writing. He kept a detailed journal for most of his adult life. This journal is studied by many people today. He also wrote very detailed letters back and forth to his wife Abigail. In 1812, he began exchanging lengthy letters with Thomas Jefferson. Abigail passed away in 1816, and John was fortunate to live long enough to see his son John Quincy become America's 6th president. That's right, so John Adams and Thomas Jefferson both passed away on the same date on July 4th, 1826. Fast fact, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams both died on July 4th, 1826. This date was the 50th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Adams' last words were, "Thomas Jefferson still survives." He didn't know that Jefferson had died earlier that day. Another fast fact was that John Adams and Sam Adams were cousins. We just found that out in the last one. And not only that, But his son was also a president as well. So very, very well known family.